I wanted to tell y'all a little bit about what I've been doing in Genshin. In my personal time that I've scheduled in. Okay, so where my Archon quest was. Here we are. So I need to do the Mondstadt stuff. And I need to do this. So it's not too bad. I'm not too far away, I think. But I have just completed some world quests. Over the past several days, I have put a lot of time and energy into cleaning up some world quests so that I'm going to be more prepared for the new content that's coming out, and then I'll have context for all those things. So I finished the Sorish quests in Sumeru, the Sorish world quests with Kavarina, and like you create this beautiful, the tree appears made from Amrita, and it was I really wish, now that I've done that, I do wish that I had done it before Fontaine because it definitely sets up some important stuff in shiny giant trees. I really liked how much the zone changed from you doing that. It was weird because in Fontaine, I've done Ancient Colors, the world quest. And so I know about Jacob from that to an extent. And then when I did the Sorish quest, I found Renee's note about Jacob, and it's like this super crazy thing where he's like a child. He's like, so my teeth just came in, and adults are so mean. And so anyway, I was researching the world formula to predict Doomsday, and I've been doing this weird experiments on Jacob. So that was kind of, it was really interesting, but it's like weird that I've done it out of order, and I kind of wish that I hadn't done that. I think that this stuff with like the nature of what Kavarina is as like a gift from Nabu Malikata, I think this is gonna be pretty relevant in the Nog Cry as like in the cosmology of what kinds of magic are. It seems like it's just like a light aligned type of magic. I also did there's also like hints about your sibling that you get from doing the Sorish quest, which was a surprise for me at the end. What they're up to. I've also done the Sitlali tribe quest yesterday. And I have done the Kinich, the Scions of the Canopy world quests. I did all that yesterday. Yeah, I've been pretty busy. I've considered this as homework for myself. Yep. The Scions quest. I don't know if I should get into all this right now. Maybe I can chat about it later because I have a lot to say, and I think it's going to take me a really long time. Yes, it had to get off streamed. I just do not have time to stream all this. I cannot stream all the world quests, especially the older ones. I just do not have this kind of time. You hate that quest. Maybe something. I totally understand, and I really struggled with it too in the ways that I think that you have probably also struggled. Maybe I can just talk about it really quick. Yeah, that's not sweet. So about the Kinich Scions of the Canopy. In terms of struggling with it, it's kind of grim what happened to the Mountain King. Like, immediately, I really didn't like the way that it was presented as like, this is almost like a happy ending or a good ending, because his price was to live with the guilt and the pain of his past deeds. Like, that's the price that he had to pay. And so that means that some element of his consciousness has to remain so that he can pay that price. Just enough, like, to suffer, essentially. Aha did make the comment that Kongamoto has truly lost his mind and that his soul's been ground to a pulp. And, like, he also said, like, the lights are on, but nobody's home. But, like, if that's true, then he couldn't pay the price as described. The price was you have to live with your pain and your guilt. And if that's the price, then it means that just enough of him has to survive to suffer. And that was really messed up for me. But it's also like, it's like his consciousness got dimmed down just enough to like a little flicker so that he could carry out this penance. But there is kind of a redeeming side to that. And it is that, you know, this was definitely shown to be his choice. It was framed as Kongamoto's choice that he said he wanted to do, that he would carry out until the abyss is wiped out. So it's not eternal either. It really seemed like he himself did choose that in a moment of clarity that he had in that moment of connection with Kinich, using the ancient name. So I guess it's okay, but it also feels like it's not to me too, because it felt like almost like a spontaneous decision that he'd made there. And I know that in the quest they try to wrap it up in a really optimistic way, where Paimon was like, he doesn't have time to chat with us. He's too busy thinking about the future. And at the very end, there's also people who are like, oh, well, I guess everybody got a happy ending. Or one of the kids is like, oh, everybody got a happy ending except me. I'm sad about, you know, Nana and my dad. And then Enjou comes and saves the day or whatever. But it was kind of presented as like everything's fine. And in my mind, it felt like it very much wasn't that clear cut. I'm not saying that it was like a horrible thing. I just think it should have been presented in a little bit more of a morally, not morally gray, but like, I don't know, complicated type of way. Because it just wasn't ideal. It wasn't ideal. Because Kongamoto, you know, he became like a half alive or barely alive sacrifice, just living to atone for things that he wasn't even responsible for. And I didn't like that. I don't know. It was hard to cope with. It was difficult. It was difficult. So I get it. The other thing that I liked though is you said, I really dislike how they present it as equal choice between maintaining tradition and helping his suffering, which to me is a clear choice. But they presented it as if those two options had equal weight. Yeah, that does make complete sense to me. Because, like, why couldn't they just train somewhere else? Like, he clearly was suffering immensely. But I think that the way that we were meant to take it, that I think wasn't framed very well, is sort of like, he's chosen this path of atonement and purpose instead of just fading away into nothing. Like, he's chosen to be part of his tribe's future. That's what they were trying to say, I think. And it was like, I don't know. It was questionable, maybe. I do love Enjou, and you're right, Enjou. I don't even know if I'm saying his name right because I don't think it's been voiced, but he keeps getting off-streamed. I think this is probably gonna keep happening. He's like the husbando NPC too. Like, in terms of NPC characters, he totally is. He's so great, except he's obviously extremely dangerous character. He's very charming. He's very likable. You know, he rescued the Saurian for those kids. And it does seem like he has his own agenda because he keeps trying to play it off like he's just a low-level clerk. But clearly this is like a cover for him to hide whatever sussy stuff he's actually got going on, where he's finding lore and stories and stuff about the world. Like he's in this quest for knowledge, and I was just like, he's up to something. But he's charming, so it's fun. It's always fun to meet him. He one thing that I thought was interesting was like what the nature of the turned fire as separate from the eternal flame, sacred flame. It's because I think at one point in the quest it was implied that turned fire has like its own will, that it's like watching the name bearer and watching what they do and eventually demanding payment in return. That was big red flags for me when I read that. Oh, everybody who uses a turn fire dies horribly. Okay, no big deal. Okay. We're not too worried. It must be a coincidence. Yeah. The other thing I would say about Kanich quest was I finally understood why a Hao's form is such a great choice. Like why it's such an amazing decision that they made him look like that. I finally got it. It finally clicked for me. So it clicked whenever I think it was Enjou who said a Hao is like a speck of dust from like another time, another age. That's when I understood. Because it's like, okay, a speck of dust. So he's like a pixel. Is like a one little bit, right? So this told me, okay, so he's like this unrendered asset, like improperly loaded element from a past version of the world. So from the last program before it got rewritten. He's like a bug in the system. He's like a piece of the old code. And that's why I also thought that they kind of hinted at this because there's several times in the quest where Hao calls people ant. Like he calls Paimon an ant, or he called the Kongamoto locust. Bugs. Like he's using the bug metaphor. And they're kind of trying to hint at that. He's a bug in the code, essentially. You shouldn't like... He's like from the earlier formatted version. And I also, you know, thinking about elements in Genshin that are digitized. I play Nahida a lot, and obviously the world is very digitized when she uses her E. You see like this user interface. I remember Irminsul being pretty digital looking. I think it was like a circuit board. And so these are all like massive clues to you that it's a program, you know, that we're in. It's like it's a simulation. Okay. I don't know. I thought that was neat. I think that it's sort of like this, his character design is like a meta narrative tool. And also there was a point where Enjou, you know, he made a joke, and it's funny, but it's also a meta joke that I think is playing into that whole thing where Enjou was like, I don't think I can show this to you. I took a screenshot of it. Cliche, I know. The hero's trusted partner sells him out to the abyss in a shocking act of betrayal. Cue bad guy speech and drawn out death sequence, right? So he's joking about it's just a game, it's just a story. And we know that. It's so creepy that that's the actual truth that we know. You know? it creeped. The more I started to think about that, I started to actually feel kind of creeped out. I don't know why. It's too real. You're not supposed to know you're in the game, okay? You're not supposed to know it's program. That's the forbidden knowledge. Anyways. The other quest that I did was Lolly World Quest. And Wow, there were some things about it that were absolutely phenomenal. Like, all in all, this quest was phenomenal. It was amazing. It was great. However, there were some things in it I did not like. This is for the Masters of the Nightwind tribal quests. So, first of all, it was absolutely gorgeous storytelling about, like, the burden and the gift of memory, the weight of memory that you have to carry, especially when you live as long as Sitlali does. And it reminded me a lot of ways of the things I've loved about Frieren. I thought it was extremely well written, and I remember that the ending cutscene was just so beautiful with the use of color and like tying together this whole like trying to find it. I wish I could find a screenshot of it so I could like show it here alongside what I'm trying to hold on a second. Okay, I don't think I'm gonna be able to find it. Anyway, one thing that's come up a lot throughout the last few quests that I've done is like the fact that what's actually written down in historical accounts and what happened can be different a lot of the times. Like a lot of times the real truth that people like carry is different than official accounts. And that's something that comes up a lot. It happened in the storage quests that I had done on the weekend too. And I know this is something that happens often. It seems like something that they're really trying to drive home for you and to remind you of. The simulated aha knows they're in a simulation. Oh yeah. Yes. Hers I liked a lot. Good development on her. Villain felt yeah, I'll get to that. The villain. Anyway, this the last cutscene where she kind of comes to terms with the loss of her friend finally. You know, there's a lot of discussion in the quest about the impermanence of life. Nobody lives forever, you know, no one can stay all that long, but that's all the more reason to remember them. That's like all the more reason to treasure those brief connections while they last, because god, there was some lines in this quest that I really like. I was so close to tears from. The I noticed that Lally, like, she really does mature a lot. I think she does mature and grow so much during this quest, and she becomes way less annoying by the time you get to the end of the quest. Like, because she learns how to be less isolated. Of course, being annoying is part of the facade. Like, that's why she's annoying, because she doesn't want people to get close to her because it's painful, and that makes complete sense. But she, you know, eventually by the end, she starts to be less annoying, less purposefully annoying, and you know, they were like, you know, we should look into this because then maybe you'll get closure. And she's like, well, you're 200 years too late for that. But she wasn't. Like, she's just full of shit. And her friends saying, you know, those 200 years of memory, they weren't useless. They're not just barren. You should treasure them. And so it was nice seeing her sort of like reintegrate herself into her tribe and stuff. I really liked the revelation too that she had the power the entire time, because it's not like she can't see the color of memories. It's not like she's this cold, heartless person. It's that she's actually overwhelmed by it. It's just too much. And she... Similarly to the... I guess the moral of the story we're supposed to get from the Kenichi quest. You have to be able to accept the burden, the emotional burden of caring and loving, right? And it's like, you have to accept pain because it's about what you're willing to get in return for the painful price that you pay. And so it was nice seeing her become sort of like this archivist where her long life isn't so much a burden, but it lets her be a living record for her people. That was great. I'm proud of her. Her friend trying to teach her the one last lesson. God, there was the I'm trying to remember like some of the moments of that quest that were most. Oh, I know. People are flowers speech. Oh my god. But they're like, the color draws you in. It's the unique color of who a person is that draws you in, and that's what makes them memorable and unique, but it doesn't last, you know? There was a moment where the traveler said, if people live on in my memories, they never truly die. And it was a really beautiful conversation. I hate to say this, and I feel like people are going to be mad, but I have to say it. I have to say it. I shouldn't say this, but I have to. Because I'm going to start shit for no reason by saying it. But I have to say, it really felt like this is what they were trying to do in Dawn Trail. But they executed much better here. It was like this, I couldn't shake that feeling when they're like trying to express that, okay, this is about the fact that people live on in some way in memory forever. You know, this was handled so much better. If people live on in my memories, they never truly die. When the traveler said that, I was like so close to tears because we were thinking about Greater Lord Durgadavada. We're thinking about, oh, the traveler was like, my memories of them, my memories of her is the sole proof that she existed in this world. But like, God, that was such a great moment. Such a great moment. It really hit me hard. Because that's true. That's what memories are. Oh God. It hurt. That one hurt. That one hurt. But in a good way. Great job. Amazing. I loved this. But also in Genshin, this is something that comes up again and again. Memories are really precious, but they're also not much different than stories, if you really think about it. You know, we all have different versions of the truth. We all have different perceptions of who a person was, even ourselves. And who we think we are, who we think other people are, is just a sum of all the ideas and stories that we've told ourselves and that we remember. You know, that's something I would do. That's something she wouldn't do. Like my likes and my dislikes. And so, like, when I'm gone, some of y'all will remember me as Zepla. And other people remember me as Celeste. You know? Nobody is gonna have the whole truth. Maybe not even me. But that's, I don't know. I felt like all of this shit was handled so well. The thing is, oh yeah, some of you know me as Zorpla. You remember me as Zorpla. That's true too. The only problem I had, well, there's two problems I had with the quest. The one problem I had with it was the villain. Some of this stuff was kind of goofy. Like, for real. Okay, so from what I could see, the main villain of the story, from an objective standpoint, is the Fontanian strict advertising laws. Okay. Because this guy, he's like, I've created a dye, and it's the culmination of my life's work, and it's really great and, like, colorful dye. But he gets in trouble because he's tried to market his dye that he spent his life making as unmatched and unprecedented in quality, which are not weird things to say in marketing. But in Fontaine, they have like insane laws where you can't say something is unprecedented or unmatched if somebody used something even remotely like it in a scroll from Nightline 200 years ago. So, I mean, it's just like he got in trouble for this. Huge trouble. Because he's like doing false advertising. Even though, like, who would feel scammed by this? Are you telling me that this radiant dye that you've used in my mangas is actually not that unique and that people used it in scrolls, something like it, but better in scrolls and not line 200 years? I don't know. It feels a little bit of a shaky line of consequence here. He's like... So, okay, his ad gets shut down by the authorities in Fontaine because of a technicality. Which is like, okay, there's this really obscure and ancient dye that's kind of like it. It seemed a little bit weird. Then, I don't know. It seemed a little weird. They're not even the same. Like, the one in Nightline has special properties, and it's, like, used for totally different purposes. I don't know. It's weird. It was weird. And then, after that... Oh, Regrader was mentioned, and that felt relevant. Regrader was people he hired there. I haven't heard about him in a long time, so that was something that stuck out to me. The other thing that I didn't like about the quest was, the waifu, girlfriend date elements. I never respond well to this. They do it, of course, because they're trying to sell banners, and I understand. And so I don't complain too much because I know that, like, they're trying to sell banners. And I also know that, like, they had to do it to an extent because there's a moment where she tells you that she's not used, like, she doesn't think she's ready to be your friend. And I don't think that they could have felt safe delivering that line without buttering you up a lot first. They couldn't just drop that on you without first letting you know that, like, she's just, you know, not really that serious about that. Like, she does want to be your friend. So I kind of get that. But I didn't like it with Ayaka. I don't like it anytime this shit happens. When I feel like the devs are forcing me to have a girlfriend. Where they're forcing this feeling of being in a relationship. Because, like, she asks you to her secret spot. She holds your hand. She's, you know, you're the only one that she likes. She reads your mind where you think about how she deserves love. And she's like, I'm not used to being close to people. And that using my palm isn't enough. Close your eyes. Come closer. Let's press our foreheads together. Oh, you know, I hated that. I hated that. Oh, and then you think to yourself, oh, her forehead is so warm. Oh, and then she's like, that was just to help with the spell. And her stuttering is explained by, you know, she's drunk. But, so they get away with it, but it felt like a loophole for them to... I was dying in that part. I did not enjoy that part. Because as much as I love this quest, and I truly have loved it, there was something... I didn't enjoy that. I don't like being put through that. But after that, we had an amazing conversation. So it was all redeemed. Immediately after that, it got such, it like swapped, it changed, the scene changed into being one of the best, most memorable scenes I've had in the game. So it's like, okay, whatever, you know. I didn't worry about it. That's when we had the speech about, you know, people are flowers, and then if people live on in my memories. So it was all good. I forgave before this stuff, before that. Oh, and then at the end, she, like, gives you her handkerchief, and then she gives you the key to her house. She's like, oh, come in any time, like, even when I'm asleep. Don't even knock, girl. And I'm like, no. No! No! But, Yeah, it's fine. So yeah, we're married. It made me feel weird. It just made me feel weird. You gotta understand from my perspective. But anyways, I loved it. All in all, it was fabulous. And I think it was probably the best story content that I've done in Not Long so far. In my personal opinion, that might be controversial opinion. It hit me harder, I think, than anything else that I've done. And it made me really like Sitlali a lot, but not so much that I want to marry her, but I do really like her. So that's where we're at. I just wanted to walk you through all that. I wouldn't mind fan service with men. Right? Exactly. That's the only thing. If this was happening as often with men, then I wouldn't be complaining. But it doesn't. But it's whatever. I have love and deep space for that, so it's not like I need it from them. All right. Incredible. Incredible. Peak. Kind of builds up well for you to finish the yes. So actually, a big reason that I did that yesterday, was so that I could have context going in to finishing the summer event. I was warned that it would be necessary, or strongly encouraged, so I put a shit ton of time into doing that yesterday. So I'm doing my homework, Bun Buns. I really am making the effort here.